So today at the T20 World Cup, India have dealt a mighty blow to Scotland. They chased down the low target set for them in just 6.3 overs and have therefore covered all of their bases with respect to net run rate, therefore strengthening their chances for a semi-final berth, whereas New Zealand comfortably beat Namibia by 52 runs in an encounter which could have proven to be a bit tricky. And I'll talk about both of those games in addition to previewing the Australia versus West Indies and South Africa versus England games tomorrow on this volume of Krikazi Diaries.
Have a look at that, Smiles up, oh, it's nearly taken someone out of the stands. That was a flat six right under the stand there, the George Giffen stand, up into the members, and it went like a rocket. Well, number 24.
So on his birthday, Virat Kohli was able to win the toss for a change and he elected to field, and then India's bowlers beat Scotland's batters to a pulp. The Scots were bowled out with just 85 runs on the board, and India's bowling effort was phenomenal, with Jadeja and Shami leading the way, taking 6 wickets between themselves. Mohammad Shami has picked up form just at the right time. He followed up his 3 for 32 versus Afghanistan with 3 wickets for 15 runs in 3 overs in this game versus Scotland. Whereas Jadeja, he got a lot of grip today. He used the conditions perfectly and he took 3 wickets for 15 runs as well in his 4 overs and bagged the man of the match award as a result. Jasprit Bumrah too was clinical as ever. He took 2 wickets for 10 runs in his 3.4 overs. And then Ravi Ashwin, I thought he did fairly well as well. He took a wicket for 29 runs in his 4 overs. And all of a sudden, this Indian bowling attack is looking quite well rounded. What really interested me over here is that India actually went with 3 spinners today. Varun Chakravarti also played in addition to Jadeja and Ashwin, and on pitches which are conducive for spin bowling. I think this could prove to be a very, very smart strategy. And Chakravarti did do well today. So these 3 spinners in tandem with Shami and Bumrah on slow and turning wickets, I think that is a recipe for success. Now at the halfway mark, to eclipse Afghanistan's net run rate, India needed to chase the total down in 7.1 overs. And guess what? They did it in 6.3. India's openers were absolutely ballistic with the bat once again after that Afghanistan game. Rohit Sharma scoring 30 of 16 deliveries, whereas KL Rahul scored a half century on 18 deliveries, then got out, ending up with a score of 50 of 19 deliveries, and it was a really attractive innings to watch. He brought out his full range of shots, and now we can finally see the KL Rahul who was so impressive at the IPL. Now, by virtue of this magnanimous win, India have in effect taken net run rate out of the equation. They have eclipsed Afghanistan's net run rate. So now all eyes will be on that New Zealand versus Afghanistan game, because if Afghanistan manages to win that game, India are pretty much favorites to make it to the semi-finals. That makes the New Zealand versus Afghanistan game a virtual quarter final, and I think Afghanistan's chances have really taken a hit as a result of this massive Indian win, because New Zealand can still win that game and book a place to the semi-finals, and all of India will be praying that New Zealand somehow manage to lose that game and they can go forward in the tournament. In the other game, Namibia won the toss. They elected to field, and all of New Zealand's top 4 batsmen, they got starts, but none of them were really able to push through for a big score. In fact, at the point when Devon Conway got out, New Zealand found themselves at just 87 runs for the loss of 4 wickets after 14 overs. Thereon, though, the innings took a turn for the best for the Kiwis as James Neesham and Glenn Phillips dug them out of a hole. They dominated the last 6 overs, propelling New Zealand's score to 163 for 4 in 20 overs, with Jimmy Neesham contributing with 35 runs in 23 deliveries and Glenn Phillips contributing with 39 of 21 deliveries. Namibia captain Gerhard Erasmus actually turned up with the ball today. He was quite effective with his right arm off break, even removed his counterpart Kane Williamson, and ended up with figures of 1 for 22 in his 4 overs, which was a solid effort by the Namibian captain. He was assisted well by Bernard Schultz, who was quite effective with his left arm off spin and bagged a wicket for only 15 runs in his 3 overs. Namibia came out to bat and started really well, surprising quite a few. They were very positive and they were actually 47 runs for the loss of no wicket around the 7-over mark. And at that point, you felt like, is there an upset on the cards over here? But then the man with the golden arm and eventual man of the match, Jimmy Neesham, he caused the breakthrough in the 8th over, took a wicket and gave away just 6 runs in the only over he bowled that that day. And thereon, it was all downhill for Namibia. All of New Zealand's bowlers contributed in a fine bowling performance, but once again, it was the senior pace bowling duo of Trent Boult and Tim Southee who stood out in that scorecard. Trent Boult getting 2 wickets for 20 runs in his 4 overs, whereas Tim Southee got 2 for 15 in his 4 overs. And as a result, Namibia succumbed to a 52-run defeat as they were able to just muster 111 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their 20 overs. In the aftermath of this game, New Zealand sit comfortably in the second position in Group 2, but their second position is under threat because their net run rate is not as good as Afghanistan's or India's. So in order to book a place in the semi-finals, New Zealand will have to beat Afghanistan in their final group game, and any other result would definitely mean curtains for the Kiwis. But I feel like New Zealand are a seasoned team. They've done so well over the last 6 years or so. 2015 50 over World Cup finalists, 2019 50 over World Cup finalists, semi-finalists in 2016 T20 World Cup edition, and of course reigning champions of the World Test Championship. So I expect New Zealand to make it through, but you never know. If it is a spin conducive track, Afghanistan could spring up a surprise, and it would really be down to Rashid Khan and if Mujib plays, if Afghanistan stand a chance of winning that game. I'll briefly preview tomorrow's games as well, the all-important fixtures which will decide the fate of Group 1. England take on South Africa in a do-or-die fixture for South Africa, and England are one of the strongest teams on display in this T20 World Cup, and you'd back them to beat South Africa. But South Africa's bowling has done really well in their recent matches, and I'd say this match will be decided in England's batting innings. It will be a battle between England's batsmen, most importantly Jos Buttler, who is in belligerent form, and South Africa's pace bowling duo of Anrich Nortje and Kagiso Rabada, who have been good in this T20 World Cup. And how can we forget Tabraiz Shamsi, the now number 2 bowler in the T20I bowling rankings. So I think this battle between England's batsmen and South Africa's bowlers, this will decide this fixture. And even though England start as favourites, I'd say South Africa are definitely in with a shout, and they're going to give it everything. They're going to leave everything out on the field, give their 110%, because they know they have to win this game if they are to stand any chance of qualifying to the semis. I say this because their net run rate is not as good as Australia's, and Australia have an easier game. They have the West Indies, who have been really out of form this entire tournament. Their old guard hasn't performed at all. It's been the youngsters who have been carrying them. And the form that Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood and Adam Zampa are in, you'd back the Australians to win this fixture quite easily. But given the fact that this might be the last game in maroon for a lot of West Indies megastars, you look at Chris Gayle, Dwayne Bravo, Kieran Pollard, Lendl Simmons, you'd think that they would want to end their careers on a high. So you never know. An upset might be on the cards, but I think Australia still start as firm favorites. That's a wrap for Volume 73, folks. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon in order to be notified about all of my latest videos. Let me know in the comment section below which 3 teams alongside Pakistan do you think will qualify for the semi-final stage of the T20 World Cup. I'll catch you after tomorrow's games. That's all for now. Qazi off the mic.
Have a look at that. Miles up. Oh, it's nearly taken someone out the stands. That was a flat 6 right under the stand there, the George Giffen stand.